So you're accumulating knowledge, working hard, getting better, accumulating knowledge, working hard, getting better. But you're losing a shit ton of money and you're failing. So this feels like this is not happening. Th-
18 months, some days feel like it was yesterday that I started trading, and some days it feels like I've been trading for 5 years.
Or like when you're on the edge, like we're talking the edge, you can have great trading days and then maybe once a month you're tilting or once every few months you're tilting. The rest of the time you're good. Like you've reached a point where you can trade, but you like how do you practically get through that period of time just to get to the other side? Because you're so close. You can
Yeah.
taste it.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's the hardest to hold on to because you feel like you've already done so much and you think, how can I do any more?
If you take a setup and you lose and you get frustrated, it could only mean that you don't have confidence in your system at a
Mhm.
base.
Trade on your own terms.
Mm.
Like if you're going to trade, do not come into the market like, market, can you give me some money, please? Like, can I have some? Like, no, you go in there on your own on your own terms. Like,
It's
okay.
I'm glad we get to have this stage that we get to sit and talk and have these conversations, because I think it's so glorified in this industry that it's so easy, and it's such fast money earned is fast money lost. So
This is Behind the Charts podcast, where real traders have real conversation. Welcome back to the pod, everyone. We've got a fantastic guest today, Lawrence the Investor. We actually, all three of us had the pleasure of meeting each other in Tampa. And what really stuck out to me was that you're like such a psychology nut, and you really
Yeah.
dive into the back end of trading, the more like data analytical side for the brain. And I feel like that's what the whole goal of this podcast is to really be having these discussions about what does it take off the charts to become a successful trader. So, maybe you'll put on your coaching hat for a bit and kind of walk us through some of what we're going through, and we'll just have just a very open, transparent discussion about, just things that we all face as traders. And yeah, with that all being said, welcome in, guys, and how are you doing today?
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. I'm doing pretty good, man. I had a great trading week so far. I'm actually happy it's a short week. Like I was saying
Mhm.
before, like it's been a while since I've actually like taken a break from trading because me and Tanner, with the strong trading brand, we've been just on go the entire time since Tampa. So you guys know that we've been doing our live streams every morning on YouTube for free. We got our community going where we got a lot of things in the works, bro, just to just give as much value as we can, working with, Austin, working with you guys. It's just the collabs. It's just been great, bro. So busy, but it's been great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
That's
when we met in Tampa, I think you and Tanner had just announced that you were coming on as a coach with the
Yeah.
strong trading brand.
Yeah.
And I think Tanner had, because I hadn't followed you at this point, and Tanner had posted like a reel you had done, and I heard it and I immediately followed because of
Yeah.
whatever you said was so good. And like if for those that listening that don't follow you, you have to follow Lawrence because just the content that you put out is so valuable just in like the minute it takes to watch even your Instagram videos. But yeah, that was right before we met Tampa, followed you immediately, and you've continued to put that great content out. And I've seen how busy you guys are, like the live trading, which is awesome. And I know Tanner's really good for all that really good quality trading content, I find, because not everyone has that. So thanks for coming on the pod. We're very excited.
Yeah. No
Free to
problem.
fix us. That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah.
Well, something that really stood out to me in I think it was a podcast that you were doing, was you were talking about mental capital. And
Mhm.
you basically said your mental capital is how long you can trade until you blow an account, until you kind of blow up and have a tilt day.
Yeah.
And, it really makes me think about my own trading cycles, because it's like I can have an amazing 3-week period where I'm shooting it. I'm everything's good, and then one day will throw me off, and then I'll let
Hmm.
that spiral, and it just leads to a blown account. And then we've talked about on the podcast before, it's like more like a blow up week where all
Yeah.
your accounts get blown in 1 week. And
Mhm.
basically, I want you to speak on that a little more, like what mental capital means to you. And then I want to relate it back to our trading, because I know there's important takeaways for the people in our position.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what I was getting at is that just to give like a solid foundation before I go on, trading is a high performance activity, right? So I always, when I explain this, I'm like, I don't know if you grew up playing sports, right? Like I don't know if you played basketball, soccer, baseball, whatever. Christine, I'm not too sure if you're
What? I don't look like a basketball star to you?
You're right, right.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. Have you guys played any sports growing up? Like, have you guys played any
No.
sports or done anything competitive? It could
I
be
played high
anything competitive.
competition sports for my whole life.
I mean, I'm
Exactly.
really
So,
fucking good at Monopoly, so.
I mean, that could, you need breaks every now and then playing Monopoly, taking everybody's money,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So, paper money.
Yeah.
So, Thomas, you know that recovery is the most important part of any high performance activity, right? Like, I don't care what sport it is, what competition it is, recovery, taking a break is the most important piece, especially when it comes to trading, where this is not such a physical activity. This is a mental activity. So, because a lot of us aren't used to mental activities at this level, because this is a very high level, we kind of ignore the signs, or we don't know the signs of mental exhaustion because we're not panting and we're not like just out of breath and we're bending over trying to catch our second breath. Mental exhaustion exerts itself in a different way, right? And that different way is your responses and your reactions to whatever events happening on those charts, right? So like for me, I know that once I'm fresh off of a break, then and I start getting myself back into the live markets, into the markets, and I take a loss. I could execute completely fine and I take the loss, or I can execute, emotionally, like it was my fault. I shouldn't have done certain things, right? The loss would not necessarily bother me too much because I still have fresh legs. I still have my fresh breath, right? Like, oh, I messed up. It's cool. It doesn't happen all the time, right? And that's when I talk about those probability based loss and those possibility based loss. So, probability based loss is when you execute your system properly. You did everything that you could. Entry was good, exits were good, stop loss profit target was good, risk management, great. But you still lost, right? That's probabilities. That is the game of trading. Nothing is guaranteed. No edge is 100%, right? So once you incur that loss, how do you respond? If you're like, okay, I did everything I can, it's cool, right? And then you have your possibility based loss where you think of possibilities like, oh, if I get in here, right, I could possibly make this much money and this could possibly happen, but it's not according to your plan, right? It's all possibilities, emotions, greed, fear, whatever the case may be, right? And then you lose the trade, right? How do you respond to it? And maybe you forgive yourself and you're like, okay, well, I don't do this every day. I need to correct this. I'll journal it and we'll move on from here. Those are healthy responses that identify as like fresh mental legs, right? Like you have full mental capacity, full mental capital. Now, the moment, me personally, when I take a loss, right, and I get mad, like I get frustrated. I get mad when I take a loss. That's how I know my mental capital is going down, because if I looked at the red day I had last week and my reactions were fine, I'm just like, okay, well, on to the next one. If that was my reaction last week and the week before that, and then this week, I'm getting flustered, I'm getting angry. These are signs and signals of mental exhaustion. Okay. And then we need to go ahead and dial it back, relax, take some time off the charts, realize life is not shitty just because I lost this trade and I actually have a decent life. Like I have a great life, right? Go touch some grass, play a game, watch Netflix or something, right? Like life is bigger than trading. And then you take that break and you realize, wow, I have a decent life. Now, let me ease my way back in after taking a couple days off, back test a little bit or journal a little bit, review, and then get back in there and, start it up again.
Were you in a cycle like this too, maybe 2 years ago, 1 year ago, where you trade really well, but then you don't catch it soon enough, and the spiral happens, and then you're left feeling frustrated, and then you're left going back and journaling? Like, we're all big on journaling here, but to some degree it's like hindsight bias journaling, and you're
Mhm.
only able to go back and be like, oh shoot, it was damn profit target that I got so close to the profit target, but then I didn't make it. And then, now I just blew the whole account. I'm feeling frustrated. Like, how did you experience this? And then how did you kind of get out of that?
Yeah, so absolutely. Of course I experienced it. I think that's just like the natural flow of things as you're learning in those beginning years. Like I'm going on 4 years and I still think, 4 years old, that's a toddler, I guess. Like that's still a young child, right?
Mhm.
So I'm still a young child in the game, but yeah, I have been through that. And I think that what helped me get out of that is a lot of times our natural response or our natural what we are focused on and what we blame will be, oh, my profit target, my entry, these certain technical signals and indicators that I'm getting, instead of, and this is where my shift happened, um, how do I treat myself, right? Because
Mm,
if you think about it, it's like, okay, um, if I ignored these signals, it must be a pride thing. And I'm like, why can't I just give myself a break, right? Like I'm not less than if I say, all right, I need to relax. I need to sit out. I'm tired, and just submit to that, where it's just like just submit to it, where it's just like, okay, I am not less of a trader just because I cannot mentally handle what's going on right now.
Hmm.
Okay. Like, so when you switch your perspective from, okay, I should have done this and that because of this technical indicator hindsight, like that's not really the source of the problem here, because anything can happen in the markets. Like whatever technical indicator that you received, and if you responded to it, the price can go up and it can go down. Whatever indicator that you're looking at or signal that you're looking at is not the reason why price is going up or going down. So, I mean, it's just helping us in our minds pretty much give reason as to why we're doing it, so we could feel a little
mm,
bit more safe as we're trading. But those are not the real reasons why price goes up and goes down. So that's not necessarily a good or reliable focus point. The focus point should be, if I'm getting these signals where I cannot handle this and I am experiencing all of these emotions, and I'm experiencing a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, greed, and all these things that derive from that. And I know that this is not what trading is supposed to be, like healthy trading. I probably just need to go ahead and say, okay, I'm not less than. It's okay for me to say I can't handle today. I'm not weak. Let me just take a step back and relax, right? Like just, and that's how I look at it. I kind of look at it towards myself than looking at it as the charts or whatever indicator
mm.
or hindsight bias, technically speaking.
Hmm. You have anything to add, Christine? Because I know we're like both kind of going through this cycle, and like speak on it.
I love that because I think it's a really good explanation of where we're currently at. And I see it in a lot of traders. I see it all the time. Where for me, I'm almost 3 years in. Thomas might be a little less, but it's your first like few years. We're all so committed. Like I'm talking, we all show up every day. People lose accounts every day. I haven't made a payout. Like I come here every day, essentially fail, don't reach my goal every day, and I show up the next day. The What you're talking about is almost being, and what I've noticed is being hard on myself. And I see it all the time is how you talk. Oh, I blew another account. I tilted. Like how much weight I put on those things and treating myself badly because I tilted. It's like it's silly to almost speak out loud that I've been like in a rut because I blew an account on Tuesday because I major tilted like more than I have in the last few months. Like, but why am I so hard on myself for that? It has something to do with the fact that I'm trying so hard. I'm so committed to making this work, and it's just not happening yet. And, every day that goes by that it doesn't happen, I feel worse. And I think, oh my gosh, should I actually be doing this? And we've talked about like this is the time when people quit. Of course it is, because it's so mentally draining. But I think what you just talked about is how you treat yourself is actually a huge part of that, and what we all have to in our position have to change.
Yeah, yeah. I think that And that's it right there, right? Like how, like really just giving yourself time to grow. Like 1 or 2 years is not enough, and like just giving yourself like that leniency and that space and that opportunity to actually mess up. One thing that I discovered this year actually is, and it's the very same thing that's keeping you in this crazy game of trading where a lot of people quit is the exact same thing that's going to go against you and hinder your trading in general.
Mm,
Right? Like
yeah.
you have to be committed. You have to be a little crazy. You
Mhm.
have to be very optimistic to do this. This is crazy, bro. Like we're literally like we're gambling at a professional level. Like this is, you cannot take the gambling aspect. I know people say, "Oh, trading's not gambling." You can't take the uncertainty aspect. If you look at the
Yeah.
definition of gambling, you are risking something to gain something, right?
Mhm.
So there's uncertainty there. You can't take that out. Like we cannot predict the outcome. It's an uncertain thing. So I'm saying all that to say that, one, we got to give ourselves a little bit more time to learn this crazy game
Mhm.
because it requires us to go against every bit of conditioning and wiring that we had growing up, just thinking of everything as winning and losing, or right or wrong, instead of thinking
Mhm.
in things of probabilities where it's just like, let me keep doing the same thing every day. And the more that I do it, regardless if I, lose here and there, it's going to arrive to my goal, or we're going to get to my theoretical point. And I just have to, my only choice, or my only, I guess, vow is to not quit. Right. And we'll eventually
Mhm.
get there. But one thing that I learned this year that was very valuable is the reason why we revenge trade and over leverage and do all of these trading errors is because we're looking for redemption, right? If you're
Mhm.
going to trade, you are trying your best to be your best. So if you perceive losing a trade as you fucking up, and now you're trying to redeem yourself by making that money back or doing the correct thing because you perceive you did something wrong, which you really didn't, right? As long as you executed your system, of course. If you perceive that you did something wrong, you're going to try to make up for it and, do right and redeem yourself. Congratulations. You're not a psychopath. You're not a sociopath. You actually have a conscience, right?
Yeah.
You have a conscience. So congrats. But you know, if you could learn to really like forgive mistakes, if you actually know
Mhm.
that you're going to do better next time, there will be no redemption. And if there's no redemption, or the need to feel like you have to redeem or make up for a fuck up that you feel like you did in that trade, then you will not revenge trade, over leverage, and do all these crazy things. So that's
Mhm.
why it always centers back to how do you treat yourself, and how, like, when you mess up, would you talk to your friend like that if they messed up and talk to you about it? Would you talk to your children like that if they
Yeah.
messed up and they talk to you about it? So why would you talk to yourself like that? Right. So, just give yourself time to grow. Don't try to go for redemption and make up for something that you perceive as wrong. Losing a trade is not something that you messed up on, and it's not something that you got to get back at immediately to make right on something that you think you did wrong. And even if you did do wrong, even if you
Mhm.
did trade emotionally, take a step back and say, okay, I forgive myself. Let's go ahead and go back to the lab. Let's start back testing. Let's start journaling. Let's figure out what daily goals that I have to reach every single day in order to like fix this issue that I have going on, and give yourself that time to grow and space to actually grow. So
Yeah. Love that, Thomas. What do you think about that?
I think about two things. One, if you take a setup and you lose and you get frustrated, it could only mean that you don't have confidence in your system at a
mhm,
base. Because if you have confidence in your system, you understand you're going to take losses because you're blaming it on yourself. And so for me, as a discretionary trader, I do sometimes find myself blaming myself for
Mhm.
the loss because there was one portion of the market that I knew, okay, this is a C grade setup. I didn't need to be in this, but I still took it because it was still a good setup. But then I'm going to find something to blame myself for. And where I'm going with this is backtesting. I
Mhm.
I struggle with the word backtesting because I think it means a lot of different things for different people. How I justify to myself that I've back tested my system is that I have traded the same exact thing, the same exact time for probably 18 months now. And I have that I know those patterns, I know what I'm seeing. And so that's how I justify that I've back tested because it's been hundreds of markups, hundreds of live trades. I know the system, but at the same time, I don't have a spreadsheet that tells me this is your end of the day win rate for this strategy, because it's not really like that. And I want to get your take on that. Should I have that spreadsheet, or is the spreadsheet kind of not possible? And what I've accomplished is technically back testing. You kind of know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand exactly what you're saying, and I think that the spreadsheet is absolutely, or the ending stats of your sessions is absolutely critical. Like you got to know that because I've had a lot of conversations, as you know, I've had a lot of conversations with the back testing thing. Like some
Mhm.
people say that it's not worth it and X, Y, and Z, but it definitely, the reason why I go so hard for it is because, I've back tested literally thousands of trades, right? And in order for me to explain this, it's one of those things that you really have to go through because when I first started back testing and I thought that I was like putting in all this work, learning everything and just putting in effort, come to find out I really wasn't putting in enough effort. So when you're talking about a game of probabilities, right? Simple as flipping a coin, right? So if you flip a coin, what's the chances of it landing on heads and what's the chances of it landing on tails? 50% each,
Mhm.
right? But if I flip that coin 10 times and it lands on heads 7 times in a row and it lands on tails 3 times after that, that's a 70-30 chance, right? The fact of the matter is it's still 50% on each. You just didn't flip the coin enough, right? So
Mhm.
that's why I always say 1,000 back tested trades bare minimum, because when you do 1,000 back tested trades and people say, damn, 1,000, you don't need that much. You only need 200 or 300. Name one like great athlete performer that only practiced 200 times. Do you think Michael Jordan shot 200 times and was like, "Oh, I'm Michael Jordan"? Do you think that Ronaldo kicked that ball 200 times and said, "Hey, I'm Ronaldo, I'm the greatest"? Like, no, they all done it thousands of times. And not only that, as far as execution and getting better with understanding your setup and your execution, when you get to a point from zero to us to I would say about 600, from 0 to 600 backtested trades, it's all about stats. At that point, you're thinking, okay, well, I have a profitable system, right? This is what it can yield me from 0 to 600, right? It's strictly technicals, all stats. But then when you start to get to 600 to 1,000 to 1,000 plus, it starts this psychological rewiring,
Mm.
right? Like it gets deeper than that, but people never make it to 600 to 1,000 back tested trades in a small period of time to actually experience that psychological rewiring. And what's that psychological rewiring? It's the confidence that you're talking about, Thomas. It's the confidence that you're talking about, where like me personally, I know that when I got to 1,000, I started to look at my losses as investments. Because if you
Mm.
look at it, where at the end of the stats, like I'm averaging 2R average on my trades, minimum 2R. So let's say every $1 I lose, I'm going to make $2. Christine, if I sat here and I asked you, for every $1 you give me, Christine, I'll give you $2 back. How many $1 would you give me?
All my dollars. All the
Because it's an
dollars I have.
investment, right?
Yeah.
Because it's an investment, because you're not looking at it as losses if you're getting a
Yes.
return. Right? So it's like it's
That's
an
cool.
investment.
Yeah.
So when you get to a point when you're back testing that much and
Mm.
and you gain that confidence that much where you start to see your R multiple being looked at as an investment along with your win rate, of course, and you're looking at it as an investment, then losses are no longer losses. You don't perceive them as losses anymore, but you have to go through that extensive back testing because it's not just stats. It's the
Mhm.
psychological rewiring that you get after doing it so many times.
I can see Thomas smiling because Pax Trader, he talks about his losses, and I'm quoting this, as actual investments. So I've heard the term, and I think it's Pax, right, Thomas?
Yeah.
I've heard the term is talking about your losses as investments, but I think how you just explained it is a practical way to get your mind to see that. Like you can read some advice online and it's say, don't call it losses, call it investments, but you don't really understand why. You just literally gave a way to change that in your brain. And I really want to know how you backtest. Like, what do you backtest on TradeZella? Do you do it manually? Like, how am I going to start tomorrow backtesting my strategy? And am I making a spreadsheet? How am I doing that practically?
Yeah, I use TradeZella. I think
You
TradeZella
do.
is the best for back testing. I think that they have the best back testing software. I was using TradingView at first, and then I got on TradeZella and I used the back testing software, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. I even would go on to say that with TradeZella, you might not even necessarily need a spreadsheet. So what I do is I go on TradeZella, I go back, let's say 2 years, 2 years of previous data. So if today's
Mhm.
July 3rd, 2025, I'm going to July 3rd, 2023.
Okay.
Okay. Go there, go ahead and press play. The candles will begin to play. When you see your entry signal, press pause, enter, set your stop loss, set your profit target, let it play out. Do not touch it. Right,
Okay.
and just keep doing that every single day, on your back testing, of course, all the way till you get to present day, right?
Okay.
And then once you get that down, then you can go ahead, and you don't have to do it in one. I'm not saying do it in one session. I'm not
Yeah.
saying do it in one session. Of course, that's pretty extensive. But if you can do about, let's call it 50 a day, right?
Mhm.
It can go by pretty quickly. Just lock in 50 trades a day. Look at the stats at the end of the session. See what your risk to reward average is, right? Look at what your win rate is. And then what Trade Zella does, they have something called a Trade Zella score, where they pretty much measure your consistency, measure your max drawdown, measure how fast your system recovers from a max drawdown,
Okay.
and how much it can yield after each loss, like for your average, your R multiple average. And it puts all these stats together for you so you can see exactly what your system can actually yield you. So now you have proper expectations out of your system, because if you don't know your system well enough and you think that it can do something that it really can't, that's not a healthy relationship at that point, right? Like
No.
if I'm the
Yeah.
investor guy, and Thomas is the friend that you go to when you need consoling and stuff. I'm going to sit here and say, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it don't make sense. And then you go to Thomas and you be like, hey, I had this problem with one of my friends, and he'll console you. So you got to have proper expectation for your friends, right?
Yeah.
Like, go to
Yes.
Thomas when things are shaky with your friends. Come to me with your money problems. You don't come to me with your friend problem, and you don't go to Thomas for your money problems, right? So
Yeah.
you got to have proper expectations, and that's what backtesting will also do. So trade Zella, go back as far as you can. Try to get 50 sessions per day. I mean, 50 trades per day. That'll be the end of your session. Look at your stats, and if your execution is not that good, then you definitely need to trade, because if your execution is not flawless and consistent, you will never know what your actual system will yield you, or the proper expectancy. So that's what it will also do, is help you with your execution, help you with your shots. So
Awesome.
What does it mean then to be a discretionary trader? Is that real? Because when we look at like the Market Wizards book, 9 out of 10 of them are just saying, I see something, I see this pattern, I'm just doing that. What do you call yourself? Like how do you consider yourself? Discretionary, systematic?
um I actually had a conversation with Austin about this.
Mhm.
And I was reading, was it a lecture? It was a lecture. It was actually a Mark Douglas lecture. So you do have your mechanical trading, and then you have like your discretionary to intuitive trading.
Mm,
Now, the discretionary to intuitive trading is labeled as mastery. That's
Mm.
mastery level. Where mechanical level, you need to stick there for a good little bit until you transition into that mastery level, which is overall like, if I could say one important thing when it comes to this whole trading thing, and everything that I said, one huge component is time. And I mean like years,
Mm.
right? There's certain things I can't sit here and explain to you in this podcast, because you need screen time and years of experience, like 5 years minimum, right? So that's huge. I just want to touch on that. But yeah, like discretionary trading, I think that is gambling if you're still in your beginning years. And I think that intuitive trading is more so mastery, where you've you've done the same setup so many times on a mechanical level that you begin to have a gut feeling on when it will work and when it will not work, based on certain conditions. But even then, it's not necessarily intuitive, because it's not necessarily a gut feeling, because gut feelings is like, I feel like this is going to happen, which you shouldn't do in trading. Intuitive is more so, I know why this is happening, but I haven't sitting down and articulated it well enough to explain it to you. But if I took the time out to sit down as to why I did this, it will actually be a signal that I can actually teach you. I just haven't taken the time out to do it. So I think that's the difference between like intuitive and discretionary or gut feeling. Like gut feeling is just like emotional guessing, which you should never do. And then intuitive is I haven't taken the time to sit down to articulate as to why I didn't do this, even though my system told me to do this. But if I had the moment,
Mm.
I could tell you.
Mhm.
So interesting. You're really having me like kind of internally question like how I categorize myself and like if I really understand my system enough and giving me a lot to think about. But you touched on another point that I really like about what your content of you have to treat trading like a career. You have to give it that career label and not a job. And basically in doing that, you're gonna I think you used the phrase like kill the haste, that
Mhm.
haste.
Yeah.
But then also there's like, people like me where I didn't get into trading because of the Lambos or anything like that, but I certainly got into trading with like an expectation to make money
Yeah.
relatively quickly. And
Yeah.
you hear stories of like Tom Dante taking, I think it was 7 years and then finding profitability. And like basically as someone who's now crossed that threshold, did you have that doubt of like, shoot, this might not work, but like I'm committed to just showing up every single day?
Yeah, I think that and I really Randy, what's going on, brother? Yeah, to answer your question, I really resonated with Christine when she said something that really touched me when she said earlier, she was talking about how you show up every single day and you're still losing, you're still eating dirt, like, and I still put in this work. Like, I resonate with that so much because in my beginning years, like, to be completely transparent, I was in IT. I was an IT engineer at a very young age, like 23 years old. I had like a luxury apartment in Alexandria in Northern Virginia, had it made. And then I wanted to take a chance on myself. So I gave up the Lux apartment, gave up everything. I moved back into my mom's basement. And I'm like, well, everything that I do great at. So let me get about a year or two of this trading thing in, and I'll be great. And next thing you know, I'm in my mom's basement going on 3 years now. I'm hemorrhaging money, traded away my 401k. And I'm just like, bro, like I show up every day. Every time I had a horrible week, I would buy another trading book and go even harder.
Mhm.
And it was just, I was in a very dark place of not seeing no light at the end of the tunnel, didn't have anybody to talk to. I just met you guys this year.
Mhm.
I just met Tanner last year. Like
Wow.
there's a lot of history before this where I'm like, I'm by myself. I don't know anybody who does this at the level that I'm doing it at. I'm randomly messaging these trading influencers, hoping that I get a reply. And I was in a dark place for a very long time with no
Mhm.
light at the end of the tunnel, hemorrhaging money, giving up my career, giving up my apartment. And I thought trading was a scam, and I thought that I fell for it.
Oh
I
man.
thought that I fell for it
Oh,
bad, brother.
Dude,
you know,
oh my God.
my
That is
heart.
it,
mic drop.
yeah.
Everyone has
So,
this story though.
Oh my God.
Everyone has this
Mhm.
story. For me, I feel like I'm in it right now where I started this year. I was like, I'm going to quit my job, go super part-time and like just barely make enough money to skate by. And then that wasn't working, wasn't paying the bills. And now it's like, all right, we're rebuilding, finding that next legs. But man, it's always nice to resonate with something like
it's
that.
normal. Yeah, this is normal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's up, Randy? How are you doing?
Gotta unmute
Sorry,
himself.
I had to mute. I had to mute the mic. I got. How's everybody doing? Lawrence, what's going on, man? Good to see you.
What's going on, bro? I
Can you
see
hear
you every
me?
Friday, dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
How do
know,
you
but
guys like
still,
trading
not
on
like
screen
not in this
together?
setting. This is a very intimate setting. Like it's a very.
Mhm.
This is good. I'm glad you're here. So I'm glad I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
glad I made it. I literally got lucky and got an early check-in and got the hotel room set up. And Hillary's over there with Miles, and they're about to walk out the door. So
Amazing.
I can breathe.
You're
Nice
How's
to
here now.
hear.
how was
Well, it's good.
what I missed so far? I bet you lots of gems and nuggets, right?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah,
Just
lots of
everything, bro.
gems. Lots of
Did you
gems.
guys touch on? Did you talk? Anybody dive into trauma? I was just thinking
No,
about
not in the
Lawrence, how you're
slightest.
talking with your coach and how you work on like how Lawrence is So I think me and Lawrence have something in common, that I believe that so much that has happened in our life comes out in trading that we don't even think it.
Yeah.
Like dealing with stuff, and I'm coming from a place of where last week I had some personal stuff off the desk that really affected me, that I was just, maybe avoiding, and then it just spiraled into my trading, and I just was a terrible,
Mhm.
poor decisions I made last week into this week, and I wasn't even holding myself accountable. But so I just kind of want to dive in more with Lawrence, kind of like, you said when you're working with your coach Sarah, I think her name was, right? So when
Yeah.
you're working with Sarah, you guys touch on that stuff, and like, how did you get to that point of realizing that, hey, I got to hone in on these things that happen, earlier on in life or off the charts, before I can be the best I can be at the charts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. I think that one thing that me and Sarah did, well, one of the things that she did that actually helped me out a lot was she asked why enough times. Like
Hmm.
she asked the why enough times. You go about three whys deep, then it goes deeper than trading, you know? So why do you over leverage? Because I'm trying to make money. Why are you trying to make money? Because I want to be financially free. Why do you want to be financially free? Because I never had nothing growing up. Why didn't you ever have anything growing up? Because my parents never had much to give to me. And why is that? Because they weren't financially literate, and I never want my children to be like this as well. And it goes deeper. You ask three
Hmm.
whys, it gets deep, bro. So, and that's one of the things that Thomas, when you brought up like haste earlier, it's because I'm that guy. I'm the urgent haste, want to hurry up and get to my destination, not focusing on the journey, not being happy with where I am and being happy with the journey itself, not knowing that the destination is actually the journey itself. And just just the reason why I know all of these things is because that is how I am to my core. And now trading has been such a mirror, to a point where if I really want this, you realize that you just have to be, and I think that this is any like business, relationship, life, any type of infinite game with, like I said, business, relationship, life, trading, anything like that, you're really going to have to the improvement of that craft is based on the improvement of yourself. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, it's BS, I need the indicators, but it's the truth. It's the truth, bro. So yeah.
I think that goes back to what you talked about, and I wrote it down again, is this is a high performance career. But most
Yeah.
of us who are trading are normal ass people. Like we did not come out of NASA school of fucking spaceships.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah, yeah.
know what they go to school for. We're
Not
like
a rocket scientist.
normal
Not a
rocket
rocket scientist.
exactly, not rocket scientists, but we're all trying for a very high performance career. And I think, like you talked about it with athletes, any high performance career, you work on yourself first and
Yeah.
foremost, and then everything kind of falls after. Now, the thing that and I don't know if anyone else has this, Thomas, Randy, but I work on myself. I've paid a lot of money to meet with people to work on myself, and I'm still, haven't made it past the point of profitability or whatnot. And it's like, how do you practically get through the time that you were at when you were in your mom's basement, or like when you're on the edge? Like we're talking the edge, you can have great trading days, and then maybe once a month you're tilting, or once every few months you're tilting. The rest of the time you're good. Like you've reached a point where you can trade, but how do you practically get through that period of time just to get to the other side? Because you're so close, you can
Yeah.
taste it,
Yeah.
but sometimes that's the hardest to hold on to because you feel like you've already done so much
Mm.
and you think, how can I do any more?
Yeah. It's being under pressure for a long period of time.
Mhm.
That's your
Yeah.
answer. You're gonna have to just really, you're really gonna have to eat shit for a long period of time.
Okay.
Like that's just it. Like I said, like the time aspect is something that nobody talks about, right?
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I did put in the work. Yeah, we do journal. Yeah, we do back tests. We're doing everything that we can. So what we need to do is do everything that we can and find some more that we can do and then give it time. Like
Mhm.
I'm telling you, like every great leap that I made in trading was every year. Like now I'm reaching a new breakthrough coming up because I'm coming up on my year in August.
Mhm.
So, we're not going to get better, or we're not going to like really, well, I'm not going to say we're not going to get better. I'll say this is how trading is. Trading is a point where when you get to a point of profitability or your desired level of trading, let's say it's up here. This is your desired
Mhm.
level of trading. This is where you're starting, right? What's going to happen is you have to accumulate enough knowledge to a point. But as you're accumulating this knowledge, you're losing a lot of money and you have every reason to quit. So you're accumulating knowledge, working hard, getting better, accumulating knowledge, working hard, getting better. But you're losing a shit ton of money and you're failing. So this feels like this is not happening. This is
Yeah.
still happening. It just haven't broken ground yet. But it's still happening, but it feels like it's not happening because this is happening. And once you get to a certain level of accumulated knowledge and you break ground, then that money that you were losing and those results that you were having start to
Mm.
turn around, and then it starts coming up. So you have to hit a certain and I can't tell you where that level of accumulated knowledge is or that level of accumulated experience is, but you have to have a certain amount of experience and knowledge, and you will lose until you hit that level, and then you have to maintain that level for whatever you lost to have time to, pretty much you can replenish or you can get it back. So basically what I'm getting at is hard work pays off. Nobody tells you when. Okay.
Mm.
So it's going to take years. It's going to take a long period of time. You just have to stay comfortable under pressure for that long period of time. And another thing that I could say worked for me, I can't say for everybody, but I think what one thing that really helped me a lot, and it made me a little nervous, a little scary, a little bit, but I burned the boats. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
I burned the boats. Like I don't know one great business owner, athlete, performer, any type of person that's great in their profession that didn't go all in. I don't know
Mhm.
not one that experienced great success without going all in. So even when we have our jobs, and I'm not telling nobody to quit their job, I promise you, Thomas, keep the hey, listen, I'm not telling nobody to quit their jobs, but the moment I let go of my job, and I quit my job 3 times thinking I was profitable. Like I would quit a job thinking I was profitable, blow the account, and then I would have to get another job. There's no aha moment. I'll quit that second job, blow the account thinking I'm profitable, and then get a third job. It wasn't until last September that I quit my third job where now I'm sustainable. Okay. So when you burn the boats and you take that chance, then when you have your back and when you have to make this work. No, like I have to make this work. There is no plan B. There is no I have a
Yeah.
job on the side that's going. No, I have to make this work, bro. Because if it does not, then there's going to be grave consequences. Or I might have to go back to this job, or I may not eat, or the lights might go out, or something like that. So all I'm getting at is sometimes you may have to burn a few more boats. If you're too scared to burn all your boats, I'm not telling anybody to quit the job, but sometimes you may work better when you have no other option.
That's so interesting. I was just sorry I'm talking so much, but my husband's mentor just told a story about he was talking to a US Marine trainer, and there was 120 people that go through the training, and we all know that it's the hardest training. And at the end there was 19 that passed because you every morning you can go ring the bell if you want out. So he asked the trainer, like, why do you think so many people failed? And the guy said, the only reason that I know of is if you came in to Marine training with a plan B, you quit. The only people that ended up becoming Marines were people that did not have a plan B, that knew that they wanted to be a Marine. That was the only option they had in life. But everyone else that ever thought of like, oh, well, if this doesn't work, I could do this, they quit.
Yep.
So it's the burn the boats, don't have a plan B. Thomas, go quit your job.
Well, that's the beauty of it, though. Like literally working through it where I quit my job. I did the first round of burning the boats, but then I realized I'm trading like absolute shit because I literally need this money and I'm not
Yeah.
good enough. I haven't accumulated enough knowledge that burning
Yeah.
the boats is going to work. So what I do,
Yeah.
take a step back, get another job. Now I'm trading the best I've ever traded. Like I'm the most detached from the P&L, trading the price. Like I have never traded like this before, but it's only because I was able to I did that. I learned from it and now move forward. But
if it works for you, it works for you. I'm gonna
Mhm.
say it like that. If it works for you, it works for you. I was letting you know it works. What worked for me was just burning the boats. But go ahead.
I mean, David
And you burned the
Capablanca.
boats 3 times, right, Lawrence? So you get
Sometimes it takes a
multiple.
few times to burn them to the ground, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
guy.
Well, when I
Oh my god, I love David.
got,
He in his office, he's got a literal picture of the Conquistador boat
Mhm.
being burned. And when I asked him why do you have that, he became a trader around 35. He literally deleted his whole entire architecture portfolio that he had got a master's in, everything. Deleted it to go study in a basement and trade. And now he's a millionaire trader. But it's like burning the boats.
Burning
It's
the
Mhm.
boats.
insignificant.
Yeah, and to talk about what you, I think that either Christine or Randy was about to say, it's like, the one thing that Kobe said one time was, he was like, put all your eggs in one basket. People say don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Mhm.
He said, put all of your eggs in one basket, and if the basket breaks or if the eggs break, go get some more eggs. So that's what I did, right? Like I put all of my money in one basket, lost the money, went to go get some more eggs, got another job. Put all my eggs in one basket again, broke the eggs, went to go get some more eggs. So yeah, that's what reminded me of. I just wanted to put that out there.
Love
I
that.
agree, and I even think as we're talking about this, like when you said that all the eggs in a basket analogy, I'm just picturing in my head putting all this needed pressure on yourself, and then also being able to distinguish putting unneeded pressure on yourself,
Yeah.
and having that success. And it's kind of like I don't know if it's a sidebar, but just me thinking about it's like people that haven't taken a payout and they're copy trading 20 accounts. Well, it's like don't have the unneeded pressure of trading 19 accounts. Just put the pressure on one account, set a goal. And I'm a firm believer, I have to repeat this to myself constantly, is I have no plan B. It's just
Mhm.
I'm all in trading, and it's going to work out. But 18 months, some days feel like it was yesterday that I started trading, and some days it feels like I've been trading for 5 years and I'm going nowhere. Like it's tough. And I'm glad we get to have this stage that we get to sit and talk and have these conversations, because I think it's so glorified in this industry that it's so easy, and it's such fast money earned is fast money lost. So
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. I think that another mental shift that helped me a lot was going back to what you said, Thomas, is I didn't notice that I was looking at trading for the longest time. For the longest time, I didn't notice I was looking at trading as like a quick come up or like a quick hustle or a quick get rich or a job kind of thing. The moment I kind of switched my mindset to this is my career, like just like how you find this great career and they're like, okay, do you want a 401k? You're going to get stock options in the company. And you just like, this is going to be my career and I'm going to retire here. No matter what you do, like if you find a good career and you got that mindset, you're going to be locked in for 20, 30 years. And the moment I took that shift and I'm like, this is going to be my career. Today's trade does not necessarily matter because I'm going to do this until 20, 30 years from now. Like it really doesn't matter. So when you have that shift, and I think the key to trading in like so many facets is long-term thinking and delayed gratification. Like if you could turn every single thing, and that's how like a lot of times prop firms they get people because they induce a lot of short-term goals. So the thing
Mhm.
is, like having all types of long-term goals, if it's becoming a live trader, if it's being what you describe as the best trader based on execution and process and just having the mindset, the identity of a trader and just transforming yourself, these are long-term goals and goals that hit the core and is actually the cure of whatever you're trying to go for. Where if you're looking for short-term goals like 10K a month, 5K a month, $200 per day, 5 non-consecutive days equals a payout. Trying to chase these evals and combines, those things are literally going to destroy you. They're literally going to invoke so much emotion emotional volatility, that you will not be able to keep your head on straight when you lose a trade. And how we respond to losses in trading is the reason why 95% of traders lose. They cannot, I mean, yeah, they fail because they cannot lose. And it's just all based on, it helps with the losses. Losses piss me off sometimes, but every day on my stream, whenever I lose or whenever I win, I say the same thing. I'll be back tomorrow.
So
We'll
I
be back
love that
tomorrow.
you just I love that you just said that, because this last 2 weeks I've been focusing on whether it's an ESS score or a consistency score or trailing drawdown, where the last 2 days I just said, forget those. I'm just going to trade how I know to trade. And if anything, I go above the consistency or the ESS. I've now told myself I'm just building a bigger buffer before I could take a
And you're going to
payout.
keep
So it's
trading.
like that.
Mhm.
It's like that delayed gratification. And I never even thought of it until you spoke the words. And it's like in my head, I'm thinking about this whole week struggling through all these, the game we play when it comes to prop firms, and just realizing that it's like, if I just, and I've had two of the best days of trading in the last little bit, because I've just been like, I'm going to trade what I know, follow my process, risk appropriately, manage my risk very well, not forget the trailing drawdown, forget scalping, forget this, forget I need to make this much with this much loss to hit my ESS score and all the shit. I'm going to trade how I know to trade. And then, after a month, I'll open my account, the dashboard, and I'll see where I am on my score. How much more do I got to make? Maybe I'm at a payout already. Who knows? Like, I kind of want to trade that sense. And I think that's that whole delayed gratification. I think once you start to comprehend it and be like, maybe I'll get a payout in 3 weeks. Maybe it'll be 5 weeks, maybe
Yeah.
2 months. Like,
Yeah.
Maybe
but
it'll
maybe
be
when
a
I go
2
take
years.
that payout, but maybe
Yeah.
when I take that payout, I'm going to say to you, I have enough buffer in there to take another payout, or I only got to trade it so much just because, I traded how I knew how to trade versus trying to trade to
And
get that, like, go ahead.
no, I was going to say everything that you said was pretty much spot on. And if I could wrap it all in one thing, I made an Instagram reel on this, but the topic of that Instagram reel that I made was trade on your own terms.
Mm.
Like, if you're going to trade, do not come into the market like, market, can you give me some money, please? Like, can I have some? Like, no, you go in there on your own on your own terms. Like, okay, if I'm going to pay commissions, if I'm going to pay fees, if I'm going to pay any kind of slippage, if I'm going to risk my own mental capital, my own mental health, or whatever the case may be, this setup needs to occur. This needs to happen. These are my standards. And if I'm going to pay all these fees, commissions, or any type of mental capital, mental or emotional capital, then this has to happen in order for me to jump in this trade. Like, you need to raise your standards and trade on your own terms. And if you go past that consistency rule, guess what? Keep trading. If you do not meet your expected whatever you wanted for the day, guess what? Keep trading. Like, for example, today, I'm working on some new combines, right? Like, I'm starting my journey all over again so I can record it this time. And I'm starting some new combines. I only needed, I think, $400. I needed $400. That's it. 2 days ago, I made 1.6K. The day before that, I made 1,000. Today, I made $255. And I did that because today was a holiday. I didn't know what to expect. It was a half day. And I didn't look at it as, oh, I only need to make $400. I can make that easy. I know I can make that easy. But the way that I looked at it was, how much am I willing to lose today to figure out if this trade is going to work out in my favor? How much am I willing
Mhm.
to lose to figure out if this trade is going to work in my favor? And I was only willing to lose $122. And for whatever reason that is, it could be because of the holidays. It could be because it was a half day, or maybe I'm just not in a losing mood today. Maybe
Mm.
I don't have the emotional capacity, or maybe I don't have the heart today or the tolerance today to actually take a big loss. Maybe all I can handle today is $100 loss. So, like, right now, I made 250. I have to make another $150 to pass the combine, which is fine because I'll be here on Monday. But I didn't allow that short-term goal or whatever the prop firm tried to throw at me to sway my decisions, right? And make that the decider of my decision. So you just got to trade on your own terms. So I like what you said about that, Randy. Trade on your terms. Go in the market and figure out what you're willing to risk, how much you're willing to risk to figure out this is going to work out in my favor. And a certain signal has to happen if I'm going to pay commissions and fees and do this and risk myself. So
Man,
Love
that's
that.
so good.
I
Well,
can I ask a question? What do you trade, Lawrence? Like, do you trade prop? Do you trade personal? Do you trade options? Because I think you're the second guest that we've had on that's been a successful trader that makes money. James is the last one we had on, and he does swing trading and he has his investments. Like, how can you paint us a picture of how you, overall make your money within this market space? Is it only day trading? Is it something else?
yeah, so the first 3 years, my first 3 years were options.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing pretty decent at options. Like, I would have, and that's how I met Tanner or whatever, because he was my coach at the time. I traded options for 2.5 years, met Tanner, and I would make like 3,000 a day, and I'll hit 20K months and 30K months, and I was still in that boom and bust cycle, so eventually I would lose it all, right?
Mm,
And so I started out with options, and the thing with options is the Greeks, right? So even there's been a lot of times where I would catch myself going in the trend of the underlying stock. So like I would buy a contract, and say for example, if I played calls, right? The value of the contract sometimes does not align with the price direction of the underlying stock. So if I go long, upside bias, and the price of the stock is going up as well, and I'm correct, the value, depending on which contract that I use, I may not make any money.
mm,
So options actually help me with my timing, because you have to time it precisely. You got to catch it on the breakout, right? On the break and retest, and catch that volatility and that momentum in order for those contracts to gain value. So I went from there, and I didn't like the Greeks. I was like, screw this. Tanner pretty much taught me about prop firms. So then I started going into prop firm space and futures. It is what it is. Once you enter, the same value is going to be no matter what, no matter how much the chop is. The value
mm.
is the value. So last year, I'm coming up on 1 year on futures. Yeah, I started trading futures for about 1 year. I was blowing up accounts crazy. Just I'm talking about going through accounts. And then that's when I realized the difference between options and prop trading. Like it's a big difference. So I was
Mm.
blowing accounts, and now I would say I would say 85% is from trading, and then the other like 15% is from coaching, and then like other little like small dividend or interest investments that I have,
Nice.
but 85% of it comes from trading.
That's great. I
Yeah.
think it's always nice to hear that, because we see a lot of people online and they might be traders, but you sometimes wonder like how much money they're actually making from trading, and does it really matter? But we're all aspiring to make money from trading ourselves. So you want to be able to see people that actually make money from trading. So
Yeah.
thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, I do want to increase my income in other places though. Like I do
Of
have
course.
a aspiration of like
Yeah.
buying businesses, like the whole Cody Sanchez thing and all that. Like I do have
Oh, we
aspirations
should
of doing
talk.
that.
We should talk about that. I'm in a
Uh,
program about that right now, actually,
nice.
about
Yeah,
buying
that's
businesses. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
cool. Well, to wrap up, Randy, I know you wanted to ask about a book or something. Do you
Yeah,
want to take
so
the
that
floor?
just that I wanted to touch on. I actually thought it was Simon Sinner I was looking at, but it's Simon Senkirk.
Selling.
Yeah, Simon Sinek. So that book, The Infinite, you were talking about, just finite and infinite game. Like, so, right? If I could ask you, so I'm big on psychology. I've had a ton of, you know, just I had a good life growing up, but just a ton of trauma, anyways.
Mhm.
What do you think, Lawrence, is a good book? Just it doesn't have to even be wrapped around trading. I just want to just dive into kind of, a little bit of healing that soul while you're starting a new journey, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
uh, you know what I'm trying to like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
basically like
Yeah. I know
how can I
exactly what you're
get
saying.
ahead and work on myself at the same time.
Yeah. So it's so crazy. Like and this is a whole different conversation that I still debate if I ever wanted to go on podcast and talk about this. Not this podcast, but anything, period, because it can get a little deep. But there's, I grew up, just me. I don't know about anybody else, but me, I grew up in a Christian household, right?
Mhm.
But during my trading, I hit like a low point so much, where so bad, like such a low point, that I actually started studying Buddhism. So I would think that if you read any book by Thich Nhat Hanh, and I'll message it to you. Like any book by
Yes,
Thich
please.
Nhat Hanh. He passed away, I think like maybe 5 to 10 years ago, something recently, like at 90. But he was a Buddhist, or he had Buddhist practices. But Eastern religion, even if you don't, I'm not telling nobody convert. I didn't convert. It's just like respecting the practices and adopting certain practices, right? Take what you agree with and leave what you don't agree with. Eastern religion is more internal. They have you to align with yourself, relieve that internal friction, that internal tension, a lot of shadow work and working on yourself. Where Western religions, like more so like Christianity, we have an external God, right? And well, it's Eastern religions kind of touch on that internal God. So any book by Thich Nhat Hanh, you can watch. What's that show on Netflix? It's such a good show. I'll have to look it up and I'll send it to you, Randy. But basically, it's about this guy. He can travel. It's an animation. He could travel through the universe, and it's like a podcast. Like he has these little animals. I mean, these little creatures with him, and they do a little podcast in different worlds. And he talks about a lot of different things, like as far as religion, politics, and everything. It's just so cool. I can't remember the name. I'll tell you, Randy. But yeah. So
No,
I would say
I love that
like Buddhism.
I love that you said that, because this year actually I started doing like a 10-minute sit every morning. First thing I do in the morning, and I just do some meditation. And it's like, I thought meditation was a whole nother, kind of, but it's like it can be whatever you want it to be. And just
It is. Yeah.
working on myself in that sense, and kind of just like letting go and realizing, yeah, anyways, we'll talk. Lawrence
Yeah.
and I will have a whole nother conversation on this, because I could go for hours and hours and hours. But no, I love that. I'll definitely, if you could hit me up, just send me a message with that author's name, and I'll look up some books, and we'll have another conversation on just maybe one of those books. So
Here's the heart of the heart of the Buddhist teaching. The heart of the Buddhist teaching by Thich Nhat Hanh. That's a good one. And then there's another True Love, a practice for awakening the heart. Those two books right
ooh,
there by
nice.
Thich Nhat Hanh will actually teach you how to treat yourself and how to align with yourself. So if you guys really want to get more into the psychology, releasing the tension within yourself, that friction that you go through by because you can't stick to your rules and all this other type of stuff. Like you want to actually do shadow work. Thich Nhat Hanh, any type of books, any type of interviews. He's all over YouTube, and just like more Eastern related religious practices. It'll help out a lot.
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Thanks so much for your time, Lawrence. This is a fantastic
Yeah.
podcast. I hope everyone can take some value from it. All of this stuff will be in the description. And really, thank you so much for your transparency, your time. Really appreciate it.
No, we're gonna have
And
to do
and
this
and
again, man. I like this.
Good.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
anytime.
Like,
Yeah.
comment, ask questions. Like, these are the kind of conversations we want to have. And if there's something out there that you want to ask one of us, or you want to ask Lawrence, and you just kind of want to go a deeper dive, like, we'll do a part 2, part 3, part 4, like, we'll just keep going, right? Because I'm sad I missed the first 30 minutes of this, but
You
when
have
I
to
met
listen to
Lawrence
it.
in Tampa, yeah, when I
Yeah.
met Lawrence in Tampa, like, it's honestly, he busted my chops for
Leaving me and never coming back.
leaving him high and dry. And I've never met someone that said that to me after the first time meeting him. So it just goes to show that, like, he put the time in to talk to me, and so I need to, obviously, and that reciprocated as the weekend went on.
I was
But
fucking with you, Randy.
I'm a sensitive guy. If you don't know that
I was
about me, I'm
fucking
a
with you,
very
bro. I
sensitive
was
guy.
Yeah.
playing.
I'm a very sensitive guy. Everybody else knows that. So
Yeah.
Hey, with that all being said, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye.